All right. Welcome to the Side Action, episode 6 of season 4. My name is Jim Weglars, aka Wegs. You could follow me at Wegs Pool on Twitter and Instagram.
And my name is Steve Roberts, aka Action. You can follow me on Twitter at 31S Roberts.
Follow the podcast at Side Action Pod on Twitter. So, Action, congrats. We bounced back. We had a better week in, the Circa contest, but how was the rest of your weekend?
Oh man, huge weekend. Was killing it all day Sunday.
hmm
Saturday was a little up and down in college football, but ended up about even. And then Sunday was just a big, big day. So those are kind of few and far between for me at least, but it's nice. It's a good feeling to have it. And way up through 4 weeks in the NFL season so far. So it's been very good. We also saw a show, first live show that I've seen since the pandemic. Saturday night, we went to see Glass Animals at a local amphitheater, and we had a really great time. So it was a great weekend all around. How about
That's
you?
all. I had a good weekend. I mean, the betting side, I'm still rolling. I'm, no knock on wood, I'm 6-0 so far, Action. So I'm doing
All
pretty good
right.
on my personal side last 2 weeks. So, thank you, teasers. But I had a good fun time. I played beach volleyball on Friday. Kind of went off the rails a little bit. Kind of went a little too hard, I guess, after with margaritas and some more drinks, which was fun. But couldn't get up at sunrise to see our guys who listen to the podcast here. Did play indoor actually on Saturday during the day, which was whatever because it was a beautiful day. But hung out with a friend, checked out that Marvel exhibit, which was really nice at the Museum of Science and Industry, which is cool. And then obviously, hung out with a friend on Sunday during some games, but we were watching, obviously, all of our games did really well. I watched the early set of games and, of course, I watched the Bears Lions, which you're on the wrong side of that one, our only loss. But other than that, can't really complain. It's been kind of a weird week, as I was talking about to you, but overall, like, you know, got to get ready for fall. And for our loyal listeners, it's going to be a sad moment right now. Pour some out for the Shockers. There's not going to be a Shockers flag football season. I can't report on the Shockers and you know, our Lions. So it's a bummer to me because I've been playing for so many years in this league, and they've just kind of the local leagues, the clubs that run it. I just don't like the way they've done it, and now they've spread it all out and not enough interest, which is kind of crazy that there's not enough interest for flag football on a Saturday, which we love day drinking action. I know you do too. So.
Yeah, that's interesting that the interest has waned, especially after coming right off a pandemic. You would think people would prefer to be outside and do
Yeah,
active things.
too. And I'm not really sure the explanation, but in the end, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do for my Saturdays here in the fall, and I'll bounce back. I probably won't watch as much college football as I would, so it's
Yeah.
good on the NFL. And maybe if my coaching will start at some point, I'll be doing that, and I can still play indoor sand and stuff too. But I like to take a little time off with my body action.
Yeah. Well, maybe hardcourt volleyball updates can fill the void of the Shockers football updates.
Absolutely. So, all right, well, let's jump into it. Our week 4 recap in the NFL. First of all, it's as we've kind of talked about, it's a little bit leveling out. Underdogs, was more like 7-9 this week. So, I mean, it's getting there where it's 50-50 more or less. Road dogs at 5-6 against the number. Unders at 9-7, which, it's still kind of dominating, but, getting a little closer. And then, as we mentioned, road teams in general still are doing pretty well, though, 9-7 against the spread in week 4. Those trends for the home teams really still has held stew, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the road teams are playing well. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about it several times. We can't really put a pin in it and why, but I mean, you do see that the underdogs didn't fare quite as well this week since they had the last couple of weeks. I think they had an edge the first 3 weeks of the season, and
Right.
now the favorites bounce back a little bit. And the unders, something I've been paying attention to is I kind of expected scoring might pick up a little bit after the first couple of weeks, and we haven't really seen that happen yet either.
Right.
So I've been looking at playing some unders here a little bit more this week than I have in the last couple of weeks personally.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of those games, maybe we'll talk about in a minute, but they were kind of shocking. Was, yeah, whatever, Cleveland and Vikings.
Mhm.
14-7. I mean, they couldn't score in that game. It was weird. That was kind of a game that I thought could be a shootout, but it wasn't. And even that Raiders-Chargers game on Monday night, the Raiders started so slow. You couldn't get to the original total. I mean, it was a good live bet situation, but yeah, so the unders are still coming in. I didn't want to go too deep into this action, but I was kind of thinking just, as I was watching games and I get too much time on my hands, from what I can see, a lot of times, if you were able to just pick the side, you know what I mean? Like a straight up pick, including picking upsets, of course. You do great so far this year. There's only been 11 games where the favorite basically, hasn't covered but won the game essentially. Other than that, teams are winning outright. Meaning, like if you've got the dog and you've got to believe they're going to win the game, they just win the game outright, right? So I'm looking at only 11 games out of the first 64 that the spread matters for the favorite. They either blow them out or to cover the spread easily, or they're going to lose the game. Basically, is the way I'm seeing it. So,
yeah, I think that when you're looking at handicapping games, especially if you try to pinpoint those spreads that might be a little bit closer to zero, like 4 or 5 points or less. And if you try to pick out some games where you think that the two teams are really evenly matched, if you gravitate towards the underdog side, then the points that you're getting there are just a bonus. Reality is they have a good chance of winning the game if you do your handicapping correctly, and then you have the extra points on your side too. Right. So I like that thought process a lot.
Yeah, I did hear somebody say at one point, I don't remember who it was on VSiN, that if you like the dog, you got to see them that they're going to win the game, right? And that way you can feel more convicted about the pick. And even though, for example, a team that won but didn't cover were the Bucs, we're probably talking about this at some point. But in that situation, I mean, the Pats did everything they could to win the game, and they were right there. They almost did win the game, right? So that's kind of the approach that maybe I'll take. I don't know if you'll take it, but we got to, instead of going for like, ooh, are they going to cover like a 7-point spread? It's who's going to win the damn game, So
yeah.
Let's talk about highs and lows here. You've got your guy, highs, which is Kyler Murray. He's leading. He's definitely the odds-on favorite to be the MVP this year. He had another big game, but it's both, the rushing yards in addition to the passing yards, and he just tore up that Rams defense.
Yeah. I think Murray had 268 passing yards, but it was really the running game that did the damage against the Rams. I think Edmonds finished with over 100 yards.
He did.
And James Conner has been playing really well for the Cardinals offense too.
Yep.
And, I didn't really get to see a lot of this game live. I had been meaning to go back and watch the condensed version, but didn't get around to it. I mean, I think this is just another data point for the Rams defense being not quite as good as they have been in years past.
Agreed. No doubt. That, just letdown spot. I think that we'll see if Murray, when he was healthy last year, they were great. They kind of cratered last year when he got hurt.
Yeah.
So, but their defense did play a little bit better, for example, than the Bucs defense against the Rams. So, we've got our guy Taylor Heineke. He's making plays for Washington football team. I mean, he got the 2 late scores. He seems to be a capable quarterback, thank God, because the defense sucks. But he brought them from behind. He got us that kind of miracle cover in that game against Atlanta.
Yeah, coming down to the end there, and I think they were down by 2 as they were driving down, and I knew that we were laying 1 in the contest, and I figured they were going to end up with a field goal, and we were probably looking at a push, but that swing pass to McKissick out on the right-hand side, and he dove from like the 4 or 5 yard line to get in the end zone. It was awesome. I was off the couch on that one. But, yeah. I mean, before that, though, there were so many extremely huge swing calls in that game that went against us. The roughing the passer against Chase Young was ridiculous, and then Atlanta came down and scored a touchdown there. So there was another huge swing in the game, too. I think it was a fumble of some sort that they called back. So I still think that Washington was the clear-cut side there.
Yeah, I think Atlanta's not very good, and Washington's going to have to find their legs on defense. But you're right. Like the Chase Young play finally hit the quarterback. Oh, roughing the passer. How was that? Like it was just it was an interception actually on that. But, I mean, they didn't need it. It was a 4th down play.
Yeah, 4th down.
But still, I mean, yeah, that's nuts. But we talked about this last week, and we ended up going with the Jets and not the Giants. And you didn't do your parlay. I'm disappointed in you. But Giants and Jets, the New York Bowl, they both won, and in some ways convincing fashion. In a way, I think that Zach Wilson played great in the second half, some big touchdowns. He only had one interception. Daniel Jones, 400 yards against that Saints defense. We got to talk about that. I don't know how
Yeah.
this works, but he played great as well down in New Orleans. So you called it last week. You were down on those kind of stinky dogs, and they came through.
Yeah, I think that Daniel Jones and the Giants' offensive performance deserves another mention without their top two receivers
Yeah.
last weekend too. Both Slayton and I forget the other guy's name were out, and it looks like they are going to return this week. But Galladay played well last week too. He finally was making some plays for the Giants, and Zach Wilson and Corey Davis really had a huge revenge game against the Titans. And
Yeah.
I think that one was probably a little bit more about the Titans being so crappy on defense,
Right.
but the Giants' offensive performance came out of left field. Even I didn't expect that against the really good Saints D.
Yeah, I think you're thinking Sterling Shepard, but the thing is that John Ross, the ghost of John Ross, shows up, and the guy had big plays, and then you got what is his name, Kadarius Toney or something, Kadarius
Yeah.
Toney. It was like the rookie. He was electric. It was kind of interesting to watch that. I mean, we'll talk about that later today because they obviously play Dallas this week. And then I noted the Browns defense. I mean, this defense, I was on them early. I thought that, obviously Myles Garrett could be the defensive player of the year. They held the Vikings on 11 straight drives without points, and they didn't get the red zone. So after giving up like an 85-yard touchdown drive in their opening drive, the Vikings didn't even sniff the red zone.
Yeah, and I believe going back to the game the week before, of course, it was Justin Fields in the first start, but they have allowed 2 opponent drives into the red zone in the last 2 weeks now. And obviously way more impressive against the Vikings, more potent offense. But the Browns pass rush is getting home. And I think that I would expect they're going to put Herbert under a little bit more pressure this week than he's seen so far in the season as well.
Yeah, it should be a really great game. In the lows, we talked about the Lions. How did they not cover? They had 4 trips in the red zone. The first one was just ridiculous. This guy, we're watching the game. Steve's like, "What the fuck?" Like, yeah, like, I mean, how does it gets snapped off of Goff's shin and pops up in the air and lands in the Bears' hands? I mean, they went for 4th down and got stuffed. They got strip sack, fumble on another one. I mean, it was a joke, and they still only lose by 10. But I mean, really, the Bears. I mean, they did pretty good against defensively, but it was like the Lions should have scored at least another 17 points.
Yeah, I still will contend. I'm not going to play Thursday afternoon quarterback, but I'll still contend that the Lions were the right side there. They had every chance to cover that game and just couldn't get one in the end zone. But I will say on the other side that Montgomery was running all over them until he got hurt. So there's 2 sides to that story for sure.
Right. You've noted the Titans offensive line. I mean, they were, but it was a low, I guess, because they couldn't block. But they had 7 sacks. They allowed 7 sacks, but somehow Tannehill still threw for 300 yards. I mean, they pushed it to overtime miraculously. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this offensive line used to be their strength.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could argue that they did well in run blocking, 177 rushing yards, but the Tannehill was under pressure. I couldn't remember. I could count like at least 5 times during the game that the Titans were in pretty good position and the Jets defense would get a huge sack to either take them out of field goal range or put them way behind in the sticks. And ultimately that paid huge dividends in the final outcome.
Right. Dolphins offense is a low. These guys, and people dog Tua. Maybe he's not the answer for this team, but he's obviously the answer for this offense. This offense can't do anything. 100 yards through 3 quarters against the Colts, who haven't been gangbusters on D. And, without the garbage time, this team wouldn't have broke 200 yards. So I don't know what's going on with this offense.
Yeah, I think you got to probably say that Brissett is a downgrade now after the 3 weeks that we've seen him in action with Tua's injury. And I think that Tua should be expected back soon, and certainly they'll welcome him back into the team.
Yeah, I think Will Fuller's hurt again, so that definitely blows the top off the defense. They can't do that anymore. And then I've noted the Bucs secondary. This team, they're 3-1. They probably could, they didn't win good at the Rams, but they probably should have lost this weekend. But they just their secondary is garbage. They bring up Richard Sherman off the street, and he's starting and playing bump and run coverage. They let Mac Jones. I know you love Mac Jones, but 19 straight completions to the Rook. I was kind of baffled that what's his name? What's the defensive coordinator? Jesus,
Yeah.
sorry, America. But anyway, the Bucs defensive coordinator that everybody was talking up in the Super Bowl, he's just continually blitzing Mac Jones, who's obviously sidestep and rush, getting passes off, just plays zone against the guy. The guys can't guard out there. And now you got Carlton Davis, who I believe is out for a while. So that secondary is garbage.
Yeah, I heard on the radio this morning that this weekend the Bucs are expected to have a whole entire brand new secondary compared to what they started in week 1. All 4 of their starters are now out or injured. Not only Carlton Davis, but Antoine Winfield was a DNP the last 2 days of practice. And it's just tough to play when you suffer those cluster injuries. And so they're laying 10 points on the weekend. I guess it's against Jacoby Brissett, though. So that's going to be a tough one to call. But the Bucs definitely need to get healthy in that secondary.
Right. Todd Bowles. Sorry, America. Todd Bowles, defensive
Nailed
coordinator.
it.
Loves
Former
the
Cardinals. Former Cardinals coach.
Well, this is the Cardinals. This is where Cardinals East, right?
Yeah,
It's Arians and Bowles, and then they moved to Tampa. So, all right. So key injuries we didn't talk about Jimmy G. It was kind of a weird injury. Like he maybe could have played in the second half, but he didn't. And then Trey Lance came in and actually, statistically looked okay, but actually I heard it wasn't that great. He had kind of a busted coverage with Deebo Samuel. And you've got some other injuries for San Francisco, Trent Williams, and then the great Robbie Gould. So, Robbie Gould is probably as old as I am at this point.
And they had to use Wisniewski to try and kick field goals last week, who is normally the punter. And as you would imagine, that did not go so well.
Yeah.
So after the game, though, I've been monitoring this all week. Jimmy G had a presser after the game and basically told the reporters that I expect this is going to be a 2 to 3 week injury. I don't know where he got that information, but apparently he knows his ankle really well. And then later this week, Shanahan came out and said, I don't know, Garoppolo might play, but I suspect, and I've heard a lot of folks saying that's just smoke. He wants the Cardinals to have to prepare for 2 separate quarterbacks and 2 separate game plans.
Yeah, when he said that, that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. And I think that Trey Lance, with a full week of preparation and a game plan that's actually suited for him, it could play well. So something we can talk about here a little bit later.
Yeah, I got him in some fantasy lineups, buddy. So I'm expecting that. Teddy Two Gloves, this was, we talked about this game. The Ravens were our pick, but we thought, okay, Teddy, maybe a better defense caliber, higher caliber opponent, but it didn't matter because when Teddy Two Gloves left the game, Drew Lock came in and was garbage. So we covered easily in that one. And Drew Lock looks like he'll be starting. I think so he's in the concussion protocol. Teddy, is he out yet?
I don't think that they've officially made any rulings on Bridgewater. I saw that he got in a limited practice today, whatever that means. It could be 1% or it could be 90% of practice, but it's just something that we'll have to monitor over the next 2 days. I think the line tells us that it's likely going to be Drew Lock.
Right.
So for what it's worth.
Now you got David Montgomery, torn ACL. I guess I missed that news. So is he out for the year?
I read into that and I meant back to back check that, but I think it was anticipated to be a torn ACL, but I don't think that's been an official diagnosis quite yet.
Yeah, I know he's out like 4 to 8 weeks or something, so maybe it isn't that serious, but he's out for regardless. So we'll see. He's still claiming that Dalton's coming back. I don't know why, because Fields played pretty well. But you've got Khalil Mack, and Akeem Hicks not practicing. So we'll see. They're going out to the Raiders, and that's a huge game for Chicago fans. Everybody I know who's a Bears fan is flying out there this weekend. So it'll be a home game for the Bears, roughly. Gronk has the broken ribs and a pinched lung. So he's, he didn't play last week. We'll see if he plays this week. And, Logan Thomas, as you've noted, he's on the IR for Washington. So he's out for a while. And we've mentioned, obviously, Carlton Davis here for Tampa. So, on these injuries, there's a lot of things mixing around. Let's jump into our indexes and stuff. I did the Wegs index officially. I finally did some numbers. It's only 4 weeks though, so realize there's a lot more volatility week to week. It makes sense to me that the Bills are number one. They should be the number one team. They're playing incredibly. They may have got that first week loss, but they're number one, and they're by a lot right now. Basically number one in almost every category. You got the Cardinals at 2 in the index, Broncos at 3 despite the big loss, Panthers at 4, Chargers at 5. Makes sense. They're playing great football. They won a big game. The Browns at 6 and Cowboys 7. So to me, this makes sense. These are the teams that are playing pretty good right now. I mean, the Broncos may be a little bit of this is a action favorite term, a paper tiger, but as well as the Panthers. But for this season, these are the teams that are playing the best so far.
Yeah, I don't think you could argue with this based on all these teams' stats. The Broncos defense has been excellent, and obviously Carolina before the Cowboys game, where they just put up gobs and gobs of yards and points on them. But I think that the Bills are a deserved number one, and you'll see down below I've listed the DVOA ratings, and they show the Bills at number one too. So an epic game this weekend facing off against Kansas City in Arrowhead.
I know. And then the rest for the DVOA differences, this is still with priors. We still got about a week or so before they fall off. You still got your Chiefs at 2, Bucks at 3, Ravens 4, and then Rams at 6. So a little bit different. I do think the difference is there, the way my metrics work, and maybe eventually DVOA will catch up. It's the Chiefs, Bucks, and Rams, their defenses aren't playing that great, so they're definitely winning games and putting up points, but the defenses aren't matching the offenses, and that's kind of where the index, for my index, works out.
Yep.
You've got some futures on Baltimore already. I'm interested in why you went this route. So tell us about it.
Yeah, I decided to pull the trigger the other day on Baltimore to win the Super Bowl, and did a little shopping and found the best price in the market at 16-1. And I just think that after the first week going on the road a Monday night in Las Vegas, the Ravens have really just taken a downward perception within the market. And you've seen that the last couple of weeks with the point spreads that are popping up. Last week, especially against Denver, I think they were super undervalued. And obviously we played them in the contest. But it really comes down to Lamar Jackson and his improved passing ability this year. You've really seen him throw some great deep balls that Marquise Brown couldn't catch in 1 week, and then he finally caught one for us last weekend. But I think that eventually we're going to see Harbaugh on the offense open up that passing game a little bit more, and they're going to run Ramshot, and I like them to win the Super Bowl at that number.
Now, did you? I don't have our preseason stuff. Where did you have them in the preseason? Show? Did you have it? You picked them?
I think I picked the Ravens. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I had to put my money where my mouth is.
No, that's good. You should. I mean, I think that given the teams, obviously that's the best value. I'm sure the Bills are a lot lower, value. Same with the Bucks and Chiefs, and even a team like the Cowboys. I probably would look at them right now. I've been pumping them up for 2 years, but they probably still are, less value than this, I'd imagine at this point. Well, let's jump into actually, we did want to note that there is a London game this week. I kind of jumped a little too early 2 weeks ago, but they're playing, obviously it's not the Jags this week, but it's the Jets and Falcons, which are playing. So that'll be an early start on Sunday when we get to that game. For tonight's game, we'll glaze over it, but it's a huge game in the NFC West. The Rams in Seattle. Rams opened as a short favorite, 1 point on the road, 53-point total, and now in the contest it's 2.5, as well as most of the market, up to 54.5. What are your thoughts on this game, even though we won't make it for the contest?
I think the Rams are going to bounce back pretty well tonight. Another division game after a tough loss to Arizona last week. And I am really just happy to go against Seattle, especially their defense. I think they've been playing really poorly. And I also think that the offense is overrated, even with Wilson. Looked at the box score against San Francisco last week, and it really didn't really show a dominant performance that it looked in the final score. And so I think there's a value on the Rams. What are your thoughts?
Well, it was interesting you say that. I did write it up in the Wegs pool article this week on the 5 things I learned, but I heard on the radio, because I wasn't watching this game, that Seattle had negative yardage in the game against San Francisco midway through the second quarter.
Hmm.
So they were dominated for a quarter and a half. And then there was a kind of a fluke fumble. There were some things that really helped Seattle kind of get going a little bit. And I do think Lance coming in, even though he played okay, it was probably a bit of a gut punch and they had to respond. So I do think Seattle, I'm sorry, Ridgeway, dogging you about not signing us for flag football in the other league, but hey, I mean, Seattle's not that good. It's not a good team. And so unless their defense plays better, I don't think the offense is going to match up that great. But we'll see. I mean, stranger things have happened on Thursday nights, especially with home teams. So
Right.
I'm
Valid.
glad to stay away from this one, to be honest with you. So I know you really want to get all over the Jets in Atlanta in that first Wembley game, but Atlanta opened, I guess, as a 4-point favorite. Now they're down to 3 in the contest. 44-point total is the opener. Now it's 46. I'm on the Jets, baby. I am Jets all day. It's funny. We talked about them last week. I was on that. I was with you on that with the Titans, and we won that pick. I think this team's a little better than people think, just a little. I mean, I do think that Wilson, he's a little erratic, and he's obviously trying to be a gunslinger, but they're not that bad on defense, dude. I just when I do the index, sometimes you get a little suckered into things, but the Jets aren't a very good football team in general, but their defense is top 15 at 13th in yards against and 14th in points against. And I mean, Atlanta obviously has gotten their offense going a little bit more, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll travel. Obviously, it's a big thing going across the pond, but I like the Jets in this game.
Yeah, me too. I think you touched on it that earlier when you brought up evaluating two teams on their merit and looking at two teams that are pretty even. I think this is a really strong case for that example. I mean, at first you might look at this and think that Atlanta's at home, and they're not. So this is truly a neutral field, and you're getting the Jets that are catching 3 points. And I think another positive key point to this is that Robert Saleh has some good experience in traveling to London. He's been an assistant coach on a team that's been in London the last 3 years, and so he knows how to prepare for this week. And I know he came out in the press and talked a lot about that early in the week. And when you look at the defensive evaluations, you're talking about Atlanta, which is ranked 29th, and the Jets are ranked 18th. They both are really towards the bottom on offense. So I think the defensive difference is probably where you're finding some value on the Jets.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised the Jets aren't favored, or at least it's a pick. I mean, these teams are pretty close, and I've actually got the Jets as better in the index. So, we'll see. I mean, maybe you'll get on board with me. I mean, I know you loved the Jets last season, so.
Yeah, 1 week on the Jets, and now you're a believer, huh?
I'm all in. Zach Wilson for president. All right, let's go to that next game. Is the regular 1:00 Eastern game. Tampa is hosting Miami, and we've kind of mentioned this before. Tampa opened as a 9.5-point favorite at home, 49.5-point total. Total's down to 48, and you've got a 10-point advantage for the Bucs, where they're favored by 10. Interesting spot here, action. I kind of feel like it's a stay away for me. I think that the Tampa's going to win the game. So we talk about, do they cover, do they win? I think they're going to win the game. 10's a lot of points. But man, Miami's offense is bad. I mean, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think that it's really tough to think about myself taking the points with Miami with how bad that they've been playing lately. I mean, I guess you have to figure that Brissett is going to have a better game just because of that crappy secondary that we've talked about. But they're obviously not going to be able to run the ball at all, and it's going to be hard to maintain some variety in the offensive play calling.
Right.
And I mean, if this game were in Miami, I would probably look pretty hard at taking what would I expect to be a little bit shorter of a number, but I definitely don't want to play them on the road, I don't think. So,
yeah, I mean, Tom Brady's always bad in Miami, right? But he's at home, and they came off this big emotional game where they, barely won, but they did win, and now facing a lesser opponent. So tough one. All right, well, let's go to the next game. We got Philadelphia is going to Carolina, and Carolina obviously got beat by Dallas. Dallas beat them pretty soundly, actually. Carolina opened as a 4-point favorite at home, 46.5-point total. In the contest, it's down to 3. with a 45.5 point total, but consensus says 3.5. So there's a little value, which is one of these circa kind of predicting where they think the money's going to go.
Hmm.
I'd be on Carolina with the 3, bro. I don't,
Yeah.
am I missing something here?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I see threes pretty much everywhere across the market now,
Hmm.
and it does look like there's been some money that has come on the Philadelphia side for some reason. Um, I mean, we touched on them last week. I think the Eagles really just aren't playing very well right now,
Right.
and the offense hasn't been moving the ball. I mean, they obviously put up a ton of points against the crappy Chiefs defense last week, but now that they're going to be stepping up in class a little bit going against this Panthers defense. And I think that even without McCaffrey, the offense looked pretty good last week for the Panthers. Darnold scored a couple more rushing touchdowns, and they put up plenty of points in their own right against the Cowboys defense. So I think that laying 3 here is a pretty good number. I do think that the Eagles' defensive line is probably going to have an edge in this game.
Okay.
So may want to pause a little bit and dive into the numbers there a little bit in the trenches. But I think we can certainly pencil it in as a maybe.
Okay. Let's put it on the yellow. I like it. I mean, it's one of my picks this week. So I do, that Sam Darnold is leading the league in rushing touchdowns.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next game. New Orleans, the most schizophrenic team in the NFL, goes to Washington. This opened as a pick for Washington, well, I guess, and then 43 point total. But the Saints are now a 2.5 point favorite on the road, 44 point total. I can't really predict this Saints team. I mean, I thought I did for the first couple weeks. Last week, I thought it was a big number, but I thought they'd win the game. I don't really like this. I don't like that they're laying points on the road here, even
Mhm.
though their defense. Well, tell me what happened with their defense last week, dude. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a good answer for that either. They certainly didn't play up to their really high standards against the Giants. I
Mhm.
mean, they still have an edge over Washington, certainly. And you and I were trading some texts last week about how the Washington defense hasn't played up to their standards either
Right.
this season. And I don't know. This one is a really tough one for me to call. I was really hoping to see a 3 point number on this game to look at taking Washington, but
Right.
2.5 makes it tricky. The bet splits are interesting though. The Saints are getting 74% of the tickets, but only like 55% of the money I'm seeing on my screen. So you have seen a little bit of a move up on the Saints. And I wonder if at some point there will be Washington money that comes back and moves this game down a little bit. I mean, we
Right.
certainly could watch the line move the next 48 hours and see what happens. But
Yeah.
I'm like you. I think that New Orleans has been a tough team to call this year, and maybe we're better off staying away.
Yeah, I think it's a stay away spot. Both teams, we've actually been on both teams, and I mean, New Orleans has won for us most of the time, and Washington came through finally, but it's a weird game to predict. I mean,
Hmm.
Washington has played, actually, their offense has been pretty good. Defense has been bad, and New Orleans, I don't really know what to say. It's not like it's a get up game for them. Like it's a, divisional opponent or something like that Patriots matchup, which I felt strongly about. Let's go to the next game. Tennessee is going to Jacksonville. And sorry, America, that somebody's banging on the wall outside, apparently. So Tennessee is going to Jacksonville. Tennessee opened as a 7.5 point favorite on the road, and then the 52 point total. This is all the way down to 4.5 in the contest, 48.5 point total, where the market's around 4. So it's about that. It's interesting this matchup. We didn't even talk about Urban Meyer and his dancing with the co-eds and where God knows where it was, Columbus or Cincinnati, wherever he was. Supposedly he was visiting his grandkids. So I don't know if that was
Uh,
his granddaughter. I'm not sure.
maybe it's a little close for a granddaughter, but
But that's been a big distraction. It's interesting this line has really moved towards the Jags from the opener, but the Titans aren't playing great football either. So any thoughts on this one?
yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to be real sneaky, and I last week on the look ahead number, I kind of projected that Jacksonville would play better on Thursday night against Cincinnati, and they
Yep,
did.
they
And
did.
I obviously projected that the Jets were going to perform well against the Titans. So I thought I would be real smart, and I took 7.5 points with the Jaguars. So I have that bet in the account.
Good.
And I've got some pretty good closing line value now. We're looking at 4.5 across the market. But the news cycle in the last 72 hours surrounding Urban Meyer is just disastrous, in my opinion. I can't imagine how he spent any time to prepare for the Titans.
Right.
And I don't know. I just don't think I can look past that. I had to buy out of the bet. I went back and laid the Titans at the current number of 4.5, and hopefully I'll get lucky and hit a middle there.
Yeah,
but,
I think we got a middle situation here.
Yeah, I mean, 7 is certainly a good number to have as a middle, so I'm hopeful that it'll turn out that way. But I don't see how you could even think about betting Jacksonville after the news cycle in the last several days.
No, I agree. It's Titans are past now, which is tough because, the Titans, it's not just the showing against the Jets, because I think, as we talked about, the Jets defense isn't terrible, but it's more about, I don't know what this team's doing. Like, their defense is bad, the Titans. Yeah. And on offense, they can run Henry, but with those receivers probably still out. I mean, they got it done late against the Jets, but you can't see that every week,
I did see that A.J. Brown practice today, though, however, that popped across my news feed, so that kind of intrigued me. But I still don't think that I'm interested in buying the Titans with that defense. I mean, Trevor Lawrence played really well last week. It was his first pretty good game as a pro, and I would think that Jacksonville could have some success against the Titans defense too. So maybe it's better to stay away.
Sounds like a stay away action. Let's do it. Let's talk about this NFC North matchup. Detroit going to Minnesota. Minnesota putting as an 8-point favorite, 48.5-point total. It's all the way up to 9.5 consensus, and in the contest, 49-point total. It was tough last week. I mean, Minnesota got stymied by a really good defense. Detroit's not that good defense. But it's a lot of points to lay for for a division road dog, right? I mean, this is kind of what the Josh Applebaum would say. You got to, maybe not the big number, but this is a big number to lay. And Detroit, God, they stuck last week. But it was more just turnovers. Jared Goff was moving the ball, and the Bears defense, I think, is better than Minnesota's. So I don't know. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, oh shoot, I lost my screen. But the Lions picked up a few more injuries again this week. They now are going to be without Penei Sewell, the rookie offensive lineman. And I mean, we're kind of relying on the run game, DeAndre Swift. And I think that the Vikings defense actually might be set up to have some success against them this week. They're 14th ranked in DVOA. Right. And on the flip side, I think that the Lions defense is just getting worse every week that I see them out there. And I was kind of considering laying the points with the Vikings here. This number got steamed midweek from 7.5 up to 9.5. And I was really kind of hoping I could get a 7, but I think that there's between 7.5 and 9.5 is not a huge move. And I think it might be a little bit of a contrarian play, probably a low picked game too, perhaps.
Well, no question. Nobody's jumping on board Minnesota at 9.5, against Detroit. So I guess we could pencil him as yellow. Maybe you could talk me into it just as a contrarian play. I don't know.
Okay.
You think that sometimes one of my buddies, Carter, she doesn't listen much, but play softball with him. He's like, we want to be on the side of the books. So do you think that, Minnesota would be what the books need?
No, probably not. I would expect that the books are going to be cheering for the Lions on Sunday.
Right, exactly. So, but it doesn't mean that it's a good pick. I just think about sometimes.
I do think that despite last week's outcome, Minnesota still has probably the strongest home field advantage number as well in the league.
They do. It just tells you how good because Baker wasn't good. It tells you how good Cleveland was, defense.
Yep.
All right, here's an interesting game. Denver against Pittsburgh. Denver opened as a 2-point favorite originally, 41.5-point total. Now it's a pick where Steelers are favored in a lot of spots. Drew Lock is probably going to start this game. I guess this is what the line is telling you. Obviously, if he doesn't, we'd probably jump all over it, right, for the Broncos if Teddy Two Gloves is there. It's hard for me. Pittsburgh's in a tailspin, right? They've got to win at some point. So maybe this is the spot. Denver, they didn't play good against, Baltimore, at least offensively, but their defense is good. I don't know if I can back Pittsburgh here. I don't know. I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, I don't want any part of Pittsburgh. I think that Ben Roethlisberger might be a worse quarterback than Drew Lock right
Mm.
now.
Wow. This just in.
And
Press the
uh,
stuff podcast. What? Yeah.
I was really hoping that the Broncos would somehow be catching points in this game because I would love to back their defense against that Pittsburgh Steelers offense. I think this number, the total opened at 41.5 and is down below 40 in a lot of spots right now. And I don't see how that number is still too high. I think this is going to be a super low scoring game. And I think that the only way I would go about this game is by taking Denver, but I'm not sure that it would make my top 5 though.
Yeah, with Drew Lock at the helm.
Mhm.
He's not good. He's not good.
No.
Okay, well let's just, we'll see if, Teddy Two Gloves is playing. Then everybody's gonna pick it though. It's
Right.
like
True. Yeah.
let's go to the next one at the 1 o'clock window. We've got Green Bay against Cincinnati. Green Bay obviously did cover against Pittsburgh. They played well. They opened as a 3-point favorite on the road, 48-point total. Now it's up to 51-point total, but the same spread, 3 points for the Pack. I'm on the Bengals again, buddy. I'm on the Bengals. I know. Who are we talking to? Is this action incarnate here? Taking these dogs, but Green Bay's been really good at home at least. They've obviously played well the last couple games, but this Bengals defense is pretty good. They're really well coached. They've got a good defensive line. I kind of like them in this spot. I mean, 3 points is, could open yourself up to a push situation, but I don't know. I'm on the Bungles here. It's weird to say that, but I do like them.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a number that might actually get down below the 3, believe it or not, by kickoff. I think that you've seen a ton of action on the Bengals this week from pro bettors, and I'm not sure that it's going to subside, although it might bounce between 2.5 and 3 all weekend.
Right.
And the Packers defense, although they've had some pretty good outcomes the last couple of weeks, I don't think the numbers are matching up to that. And Joe Mixon is a little banged up, but I expect whether it's Mixon or P. Ryan, that the Bengals are going to be running the ball a lot on Sunday. And I think even though the Niners couldn't do it 2 weeks ago, it was the handicap, I think that the Bengals are going to have a pretty good running day against the Packers defense. And also Jair Alexander is out too for the Packers, who is their number 1 corner, and I think they're going to miss him quite a bit on Sunday.
Yeah. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's out. I mean, look, Rodgers is Rodgers. He's great. But this is one of these spots where, okay, maybe they go in and maybe they win the game. I think, look, this is early for the Wegs Index. This is a Wegs Index call. The Bengals are better in the Wegs Index than the Packers. I know this is crazy to say, but they're 7th in yards against and 8th in scoring. They're in defensively. So I don't know. I like this spot quite a bit. I'm definitely going to bet this game one way or another. I probably will tease this, be a tease up to 9,
Okay.
For the Bengals, just to make myself feel better. But I wouldn't, I might be talking to a money line spot here actually for the Bengals. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think a little nibble on the money line with the Bengals is a good call too.
Sure. All right, well, let's go to the last game in the 1 o'clock window, and that's New England against Houston. New England opened as a 7.5-point favorite, 41.5-point total, but now it's up to 8.5 in the contest and 39.5-point total, a little down. They're actually 9 across the board, for most of the spots we look at. Interesting situation here. We know Houston sucks. It's official. They're terrible. They may mail it in all season. Maybe we're just go for it. But it's a lot of points for this Patriots offense. I know that Mac Jones played well, but they didn't put the ball in the end zone much. They played well in the rain, and you have a Tampa secondary that was garbage, and Houston's not great either. But it's a lot of points to lay on the road for me.
Yeah, especially for a team that averages 17.8 points a game. Now they have to win by 9.5.
Exactly.
I think that's probably not a great proposition, but the other side of the coin is that Bill Belichick has absolutely trounced rookie quarterbacks throughout his entire career, and Davis Mills is another rookie quarterback who just lost 40-0 to the Bills. So I definitely think that New England could potentially cover this number, but it might take a couple of defensive scores to do it, and I'm not interested in betting on that.
Right. Me neither. Stay away. It's like stay away week. Week 5, stay away week.
It is a tough week.
All right. Well, let's go to the next game. This is the 4 o'clock window. This is the game we mentioned before. The Bears go to Vegas. Bears get the big win against the Lions. Obviously, Fields look better, although he isn't the starter, or maybe he's the starter. I don't know if he's the starter. Who knows? Vegas opened as a 7-point favorite at home, 45-point total. This is down to 5.5 in the contest, and then 44.5-point total. I think this total is low. I feel like it's a low total. Not that the Bears can score a lot, but Vegas has put up numbers, right?
Yeah. The Raiders' defense has been better, though.
Yeah.
You think that's a factor in the total number here?
It must be. They must just think that, okay, the Bears beat up on the Lions. They're going to stink on the road. But I think, with the crowd being in the favor of the Bears, I think they're going to score some points. I just don't know if they'll win the game. So 5.5 is kind of a big number. But I probably would back the Raiders here if I had to pack a side. Actually, I have the number exactly at 5.5. So it's kind of where it should be, but it's just a kind of a weird line for the NFL to back it in the contest.
Yeah, you saw an opener of 7 go down to 5.5. So it looks like there is some money on the Bears coming in. You wonder if that's just all your friends getting there a couple days early and putting the bets down. I don't know, maybe. But this is a Khalil Mack revenge game.
True.
We'll see if he's going to play, however.
Right.
And I saw that Akeem Nicks is on the injury report too, which I think he's probably more important than Mack. The numbers with Akeem Hicks on the field versus him off the field are drastic for the Bears defense.
Right.
And I also think that the Raiders running back is getting a little bit healthier, played more on Monday night. Mm-hmm. Jacobs, thank you.
Yeah, he played
I would probably side with the Raiders if we were going to play this game, honestly, but I don't really have any strong convictions about it.
Yeah, I know our proxy is conflicted. Now he's a Raiders fan.
Oh, yeah.
Born Bears fan. I want to see if he's wearing, 2 jerseys and pulls one off when somebody's winning. But I'm happy to stay away from this one action, although, I know that everybody's going to be, that I know is going to have action on this game just because of the opponent. Let's look at the next one. It is more of a marquee game. I'm hoping to see it locally. Of course, I probably won't be able to. But Cleveland is playing the Chargers. Cleveland, basically it was a pick game, opened up, and then it's a 15.5-point total on the opener. The Chargers are now favored by 2 in the contest, a 47-point total, so it ticked down. I like the Browns here, buddy. I like the Chargers. First of all, we talked about them before. I think Staley is the coach they needed to win these closer games. They're playing much better. They're more prepared. You can see that. Herbert is great. He's looking amazing. But this Browns defense is legit. So the only handicap here that we have to discuss is Baker Mayfield, who I understand has a partially torn labrum. Did you hear that?
Yeah, and left shoulder, though.
Yeah.
But still, I understand that's probably painful.
Apparently, right. It's making him miss wide open receivers.
Yeah.
But what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head that the Baker Mayfield is the question mark in this one, because I think I would expect that the Staley-led defense of the Chargers is going to make him throw the ball. That I think they'll probably load up to the box to try to stop the Browns' rush offense and make him go against what is probably the strength of his defense, the secondary.
Right.
But I also am looking at DVOA and seeing that the Chargers are 25th ranked against the run. So I hope that the Browns will try to stick to the run and really grind this one out, make it a little bit of a lower scoring affair, and have some success on the ground, which has been their strong suit all season.
Mm-hmm.
And on the flip side, I'm wondering if the Browns pass rush can get home to Herbert. I think that's another key to the game.
Right. Rush him a little bit. It was interesting in the game against the Raiders because the Raiders pass rush isn't that bad. It's pretty good. Mm-hmm. They were hitting other guys. They didn't throw to Keenan Allen much. They didn't throw to Mike Williams. They were just dumping off to, tight ends and running backs and stuff. So, I think Eckler could have a big game if they're just doing the little dump offs. I don't know though. We'll see. This is a huge game, and we can obviously, it's not one of those primetime games, but it's definitely going to be a heavily bet game. But like I said, I lean to the Chargers. If we have to stay away from it, I'll be okay with it. But, I definitely like them in a spot.
Wait, sorry, you lean to the Browns, right?
Browns, I'm sorry, did I say
Yeah.
Chargers?
Yeah, you
Browns.
did.
That's my bad.
Yeah. No, I'm right in line with you. I think that we should color this one yellow.
Okay.
I mean, I also wanted to mention you saw a pretty serious move on the under just yesterday from 49 down to 47.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of telling where a lot of these bettors are expecting the game plans to roll out for both teams. You're going to see a running clock and
Right.
indicative of a lower scoring game, but it's only two. So not a ton of value with the lower scoring game. So we'll have to chat some more about it.
Number, right? I mean, because of the sevens, isn't that how it works? Or is
Mm.
fifth?
More so these days, you see 45, 47, and 51. That are the three big keys and totals.
Okay. There you go. You heard it here. Action gives it to you. All right. Well, let's talk about the NFC East matchup. The Giants against the Cowboys. The Cowboys opened up as an 8.5-point favorite at home, 49.5-point total. The total's all the way up to 52 now. So through that key number. And the Cowboys are a 7-point favorite in the contest. The Dallas has been doing what, I got to be honest with you. We took them. They've been doing what we want them to do. They're kind of laying waste to the league right now. They lost on opening night and have played great the last 3 weeks. Dallas is one of those teams that, we didn't trust last year. 7 points is a lot for a divisional road game, though, or road, dog with the Giants. I'm sure you're going to probably say the Giants are a live dog here.
Yeah, definitely. This is just a scream spot for a Dallas letdown, and they always play crappy at home against the Giants. Last year the Giants were catching 7.5, and they covered in a 3-point loss. 2 years ago, Dallas did cover, but the Giants are a live dog in this game, and especially in NFC East games historically. And I think after the Daniel Jones performance last week, and I did read that either one or both of those receivers are trending to be back in the lineup this weekend against Dallas. So I think the Giants offense is going to have some success. And even though it is a pretty big total, up to 52 now, getting a touchdown, I think is a big number.
It is. It is a big number. Well, let's put it as yellow, even though it's going against my Cowboys here this year, who I think they're going to be good. But it is such a big number for a divisional road foe. So I see that. Let's look at San Francisco and Arizona now. San Francisco had the big letdown. We talked about Trey Lance likely starting, and Arizona's setting the world on fire. Arizona opened as a 2.5-point favorite at home, 52.5-point total, all the way up to 5.5 in the contest. 50-point total now, a little bit down. I don't know, dude. I like this Cardinals team, but it feels like a letdown spot here, and it feels like San Francisco has to make a statement. Everybody's thinking Trey Lance sucks. He could have a big game here. So I'd probably be on San Francisco, but I don't know if I can actually click that in the contest. But I'd probably be on the dog here.
I think this is probably my strongest pick of the week. I think this is what I call a zigzag special. The entire world is watching the Arizona Cardinals beat down the Rams last week. They're now 4-0, the last undefeated team, 3-1 against the spread. And San Francisco just lost their starting quarterback, Jimmy G. He has a poor ankle injury. And the look ahead number on this game was going to be 2.5. And now we're seeing 5.5. And on my drive home today, I was thinking that I'm going to hold out for a 6 and maybe even pay a little extra couple of cents of juice to buy it up to the 6. But just this afternoon, there was a wave of money that came in on San Francisco, and now it's down to 4.5 and 5 across the market. And I think that it's going to continue going that direction because I think the Niners are the side here. And I believe that they're going to have a pretty good run game this weekend. The Cardinals defense has been pretty good, but they're actually 31st ranked, giving up 5.4 yards per carry. And I think that the Niners and Shanahan are going to have something ready for them.
Yeah, and this is the other leg of the teaser for me. I will tease this game to 10.5 or whatever it falls at 10. But I may actually do money line on this one too. I think this is one of those that you're getting value. It's 2.5 in the opener. Difference between Jimmy G and Lance, is it 3 points? A lot of people feel that way. I don't really think that way. It's going to be a totally different game plan when they have Lance in the lineup. Maybe not a la, Lamar Jackson, but running backs always do well when they have running quarterbacks. And as you said, they can open it up and run the ball both from the quarterback position and then in the backfield, and then it'll open up play action pass. So I'm with you here, Action. So maybe this is when we're on the same side. So nice.
Cool.
So we've got the two primetime games. One of them is epic. This is Sunday night. Buffalo's going to Kansas City. Kansas City opened as a 4-point favorite at home, 56-point total. In the contest, it's only 2.5 with a 57-point total. I've heard, maybe I misheard this, but in Mahomes' career, I think he's never been favored by less than 3 points at home ever in his career or something like that. That's what I've heard. So this is a unique spot, but all the metrics are telling me to take Buffalo because I think they're the better team. But it's hard to do that, isn't it? Because the Chiefs actually, they came through last week for the first time in a season and a half almost. What do you think in this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to envision either of these defenses stopping the opposing offense, right? So I'm thinking 100 points. No, I mean, I think the total is 57. But right. I like you, was thinking that the Bills had to be the side in this game. Really disappointed to see 2.5.
Me too.
So, to be honest, I personally took 3, and I also put in a bet on the Bills money line already, because I think that this is a game where they're really going to be ready to get their revenge from last year.
Sure.
However, though, I mean, the Chiefs are going to be ready to play too. If they lose this game, they're going to drop to 1-4, 2-4, or no, 2-3.
3, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And essentially, they would be 3 games back.
Yeah, 2-3, right.
They would be 3 games back of Buffalo, and with a loss. So I think that they're going to be equally motivated to win this game. Obviously, it's a huge game in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
So while I think the Bills are certainly going to be able to score at will against the Chiefs, I think that Patrick Mahomes and company are equally suited to do the same.
Right.
And I'm kind of thinking that we should stick to our plan and avoid primetime games. Yeah.
Good call. Yeah, this is definitely a Wegs index special. It'll test the index because Kansas City's not good in the index, mainly because of that damn defense, right? Because they suck. Mm-hmm. Huge this is the biggest differential between all opponents in the index, Action, and that's how I do it. You're like, oh, that's crazy, but the Chiefs are just not that great.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I like the stay away spot in this case. I'm sure a lot of people will be on this game, everywhere. So I'll be happy to just watch it and see what happens.
Yeah, cheer for lots of points like everyone else in America.
Right. I mean, 57, damn. Okay, so Indianapolis and Baltimore is the last one of this one. This is the move out bowl, right? The Colts and move to Baltimore, and then they go back to Baltimore. So Baltimore opens a 6.5-point favorite at home, 49.5-point total. It's up to 7 in the contest with 46, so the total came down, probably mainly because the Colts aren't great, right, on offense. But 7 points, a lot of points anytime. And the Colts defense, I mean, they showed a little bit against Miami, right? They played better. With that 46-point total, I'm not feeling great about the 7 either, so I'm happy to stay away from this game too.
Yeah, I would like to stay away too. I don't really know which way to go in this one. I would probably lean to the Ravens. I think that they're going to have success on the ground game, and on the flip side, I'm not sure that the Indianapolis rushing attack will be able to fare as well as they did last week against Miami.
Right. Agreed. So let's stay away. Yes.
I'm in. Sunday, Monday night, we avoided them both. Look at that.
Let's do it. We did it again. So then we'll go over our best candidates. We may not be 100% on these, but the Jets, getting the points in London, Carolina. We'll see where that, we're thinking about maybe that favorite, a little bit shorter favorite. We got the Bengals. I like the Bengals getting the points at home in that one. The Brownies, we're talking about them and that defense getting points on the road. I guess I'll pull the Bills off of that. We've got the Niners on the road against Arizona. And then did we talk about the Vikings? Yeah, Vikings, we're talking about maybe going contrarian on that one and land that big number of 9.5. So did I miss anything? Oh, the Giants. Of course, this is
Yeah,
the action spectral. The 7-point dogs on the road against Dallas, the steamroller that is the Cowboys. So we got some options to narrow it
yeah.
down on Saturday morning.
A few green highlights too. It's always a good starting point for our conversation on Saturday.
That's right. He narrows the field. When we go to the contest update, obviously there were 5 entries that finished 18-2, so they split that money. It's usually only, I think, top 3 spots, but they went all in 18-2, so they split, I don't know, 100 grand a piece or 75 grand, which is good money. There's another 14 at 17-3, so we've got some, places to make up. We were 4-1 last week, so without that really bad week, we kind of be in the hunt. We're just under 1,000 placed at 996th right now at 12-8, which is exactly where we were last year, actually.
Yeah, hopefully we can continue the 4-1s and not the flip side, so that we can maintain this good pace and stay in the top third. I mean, I can't ask for much more after 4 weeks. Top third is a great spot to be.
Yeah, I think we're top quarter, to be honest. It's over 4,000
Oh yeah,
entries. So we're doing okay. 25th percentile is good. We just, to get the money, we got to get a lot closer. But this is what happens. People start off hot, usually us too, and then kind of when the numbers get tighter, it gets a lot harder to figure it out. That's for sure.
definitely.
Okay, great. Well, hey, it's going to be a great weekend of football, not Shockers football, but we'll adjust, and looking forward to it. Follow us at Side Action Pod on Twitter. Follow me at Wegs Pool on Twitter and Instagram.
And follow me on Twitter at 31S Roberts.
All right, everybody. Good luck, and let's keep cashing tickets.